Hello everyone, welcome back to GeekDisorder's web series over HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, and jQuery. This is Lavik. I'll be walking you through this series. Alright, today we're going to be going over some special text elements. These are elements you don't use near as much as you use the headers and paragraphs in your web pages. We're going to be going over three block elements, and the rest are going to be inline. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with the three block elements real quick. I'm going to create me a new web page, HTML document. I'm going to go to Save As. I'm just going to save it on my desktop as text elements.html. Alright, there we go. Let's go ahead and set up the basic structure of our web page. We'll start with a doc type. Alright, and HTML. And then we'll open up our HTML tag, and we'll go ahead and close it. I'm going to go ahead and get the head tag. Alright, I'm going to add the two required head elements, which are is the meta tag with the character set attribute and the title element. So let's go ahead and add the meta, and its character set is the attribute. Set that equal to UTF-8. Alright, and then the title, and I'm just going to call it let's see, text elements. Oops. There we go. Alright. And that's all we're going to put in the head element. Alright, the body element is where we're going to be doing all of our work today. Go ahead and open and close that. Alright. And the first block element we're going to look at is the address element. And that is pretty simple. It's just address. Okay. And what is the address used for? The address element used for? Well, it's not used for just to place any address in. That's not what it's meant to be used for. If the address element is placed in a article element, then the address is meant to be used for like how to contact the author of the article. So a phone number, email address, anything of that nature. If the address element is placed in the body of a web page, the address is meant to be how to contact the owner or the webmaster of that web page. Okay, so since this is my web page, it's in the body. I'm just going to put GeekDisorder, and then I'm just going to put a fake phone number here. Alright, if I save and I run this in Firefox, you can see most of the time it does make it italics. And there's GeekDisorder with my fake phone number. Alright, and that is how you use the address element and what it's meant to be used for. Remember, if you put it in an article, it's meant to be contact information for the author of that article. If you put it in the body of a web page, it's meant to be contact information for either the owner of the website or the webmaster of that website. Not if you're just going to put a random address out there, or an address to someone else not related to your, how to contact you or the author, then it doesn't need to go inside the address element. Alright, the next element we're going to look at is the pre element. But before I show you that, I'm going to show you a paragraph element here with some text in it. And I'm just going to tab there, put 1, 2, 3. Alright, if I save and run this, you see the paragraph doesn't preserve any of the spaces, any of the tabs, any of the line breaks that I put in there. But if I use what we call the pre element, and I do the same thing, and I save and run, here's the paragraph and here's the pre. You notice it preserved all of this spacing, all the line returns, all my tabs. It preserved everything. And that's what the pre element's meant to do. If you want to preserve the text exactly like you put it, then you want to use the pre element. It does that. It reserves all the line breaks and all the spacing, and it displays it in a monospaced font. Alright, so that's the pre-element. Alright, next is going to be our last block element, and that's going to be the block quote element. And what that is meant to do, it is meant for, like, if you want to make something stand out. So like lots of times we want to quote something in the middle of like a page of text, people like indent it a little bit, put it in like its own little block, that way it stands out. And that's basically what the block quote element does. One thing it does not do, it does not put quotations around it. So I'm going to demonstrate here. I'm just going to, here we go, here's a paragraph, I'm going to put another paragraph to kind of show you, and then this is going to be our block quote, and that's exactly how it's put, block quote. So alright, and I'm just going to put this text is in block quotes, and we'll save, and I am going to run. Here's the paragraph I put before it, here's the one after, and this is all in block quotes. You notice it indents it, kind of makes it stands out from the rest of the text. Alright, and so that's the block quote element. And one thing I was going to show you with this is one of our inline elements that we'll be looking at here in a second, and I'll actually go ahead and show you that element. If you want to put quotes around this, you know, you have to look up, you can't just put like a double quote, it might cause problems. You could go back and get one of the ASCII characters like we looked at before, but there's an easier way to do that in HTML, and it is the quote element, and it's just Q, and you just end it, and whatever you put this around will be in quotes. You notice there are now double quotes around this text. Alright, so that's the quote, the Q element. Alright, the next one we're going to look at, and from now on these are all inline elements. Remember, inline elements need to go inside of a block element, so I'm going to put them all inside of a paragraph. Alright, and so the next one is, the next two are kind of funny. Remember, HTML is supposed to be a way to just structure your web page and lay out your content. CSS is supposed to be a way to format that content. The next two are the bold and the italics elements, and they kind of like don't agree with that theory, because they offer you a way to bold and italic your text within HTML. So I would advise you not use these two elements. There's much better ways to do it in CSS, but I'm gonna go ahead and show them to you anyway, and you can kind of decide from there. Bold is pretty easy, and so is italics. Bold is B, and I'm just gonna put bold, and then you close it. Italics is I. So it's pretty simple. Oops, there we go. And if I save and run, what I put the B around is is bold. What I put the B around is bold. What I put the I around is italics. And I didn't put a space in there, which I probably need to do. There we go. Save and run one more time. Alright, bold, italics. Pretty simple. But I advise you not to use those. Alright, our next one, go ahead and set back up our paragraph. Our next line element is going to be a line break element, and I believe I've shown you this one before, but I'm just going to put some garbage here, and then I'm going to use the line break element, which is just BR. Alright, and then we'll put some more garbage. Or actually, I'm going to make this readable. This is on a new line. Alright, so we have garbage, the line break element, and then this is on a new line. And we'll save and run. And as you can see, here's all the garbage. Where I put that line break element, it moves the rest of the text down to its own line. And that's what the line break element does. It it puts a break in the line and moves you back to the beginning of the next one, um, and starts to display all the text after the line break there. Alright, and that is one element you probably will use quite a bit. Alright, and the next inline element we are going to look at is the subscript element. And so what does the subscript element do? This is kind of a weird one also. The subscript and also the superscript, which we'll look at them both together right here, they format your text. But because there is not an easy way to accomplish what they do in CSS, there are ways to do it. They're just not easy, and there's a lot of like arguing on how exactly you should do it and what the best way is to do it. So for right now, until they provide us a better option, the best way to do it most of the time is just do it with the HTML tags they provide us, which is the sub and the sup elements. And so if I put H2O and I save and I run this, you can see H2O, but that's not the way H2O is really displayed, is it? No, H2O is displayed with the two kind of lower and smaller than the other two. So if I put the 2 in the sub element and I save and I run this, and that's the oops, I put the O in there also, didn't I? Oh no, I didn't close it. There we go. Alright, now let's save and run. As you can see, the 2 is moved down. Alright, and same way with the subscript. If I want to put third, and third looks okay like this, but it looks better, well, at least to me, if you raise it a little bit, and that's what the subscript does, the superscript. So, I'll make sure I close this one, and if I save and run this, you notice it's moved up. So we have the sub and the sup, superscript right here and the subscript right here. All right, and let's go to our next. It's going to the abbreviations element. Okay, let's say you have CIA. That's an abbreviation, and you want to use CIA in your website somewhere, and you've already described what CIA means on the first page of your website, but now you're like, 3 pages in, you don't want to keep typing Central Intelligence Agency and telling everyone what it means. You just want to use CIA. But on the safe side, you want an easy way to show the your viewer what CIA means, and that's where you get the abbreviations element. And the abbreviation element looks like this. It's just ABBR, okay? And I'm just going to open it and close it real fast. Alright, and CIA, the abbreviation goes between the element, okay? It's the content of your element. Okay, the way, if I just save and run this right now, you get CIA, nothing special, okay? Alright, there's no way to tell what CIA means at the moment. But when you use the abbreviation element and you place in the title attribute, and then in the title attribute you type out what CIA means. Okay, save and run. Alright, and you hover over it and there's a pop-up. Of course, that is what the title attribute does, but the proper way to use it with abbreviations is to put it in the abbreviations element. You also notice it adds this little dotted line underneath the CIA to let someone know, hey, this is an abbreviation, you want to know what it means, hover. And there you go. Alright. Now we're going to take a look at our next one, and that is the cite element. And what is cite meant to do? It's meant to cite like a book, a film, some kind of like work, a poem, a show, something like that. And so we're gonna cite a book here, or a book series, and it's called The Sword of Truth. And then we'll close it. And there you go. I've now cited that, and if I run this, you notice it's in italics. Alright, and set back up my paragraph. Alright, and our next one we're going to look at is the code element. The code element is just code, and then we're going to end it here. Alright, so what is the code element meant to do? It's meant to place computer code in. And so I'm just going to type out some computer like code here. And if I put total equals 0, alright, and I save and run this. Alright, you notice it's in a monospaced font. Now, you might have multiple lines of code. Okay, I'll set this up a little better. You might have multiple lines of code as so, and I might put there we go. And doing this, it is not like the pre-element. They will all be on the same line. Okay, so if you wanted to do this and put them all on a different line, you'd have to use the BR element with them as so. And if I run this now, there you go. The BR element moves them all down to their own line, puts a line break in there. Alright. Alright, the next element we're going to look at is the emphasized element. And what does the emphasized element do, and how does it look? Well, it's EM, and I'm going to close it here. And you put anything inside of it that you want to emphasize. So if you want to emphasize a word, like if I want to put if I say go home and then I want to emphasize the word now, alright, I would put it inside the emphasize element, and when I run this, you'll notice that it's italics. It's kind of emphasized now, and I know it does change the font and the formatting of the text, but that is a proper way to use it in HTML, because when a screen reader goes through, it doesn't really look at your CSS, it looks at the structure. And so when it's reading off of words, if it comes to the emphasized element, it'll emphasize that word. So that is a proper way to use it. You're not formatting your text. You can change what the emphasized element looks like, the text in it looks like with CSS still. But that is a proper thing to do, because it will show the structure. It shows what they need, what the screen reader needs to emphasize when it comes to that. Alright. Now we're going to go to some keyboard entries. What this is for is like if you have like something entered off a keyboard and you just want to display it. Lots of times it's used, with like code tags and stuff. Like there'll be the code. It asks for some keyboard input. They'll put that inside the keyboard entry element, and that is just K. Oh, sorry. Close my paragraph here. It is an inline element, and that is just KBD. Alright. And then you just close it. KBD. And whatever you put in here, this is input from the keyboard. There we go. Save and run this. And IE. And you can see it's in a monospaced font. Okay. Paragraph back up. Alright, the next one we're going to look at is let's see, the sample element. And what that is if you just want to put out some text that has no meaning and just to throw something out there on your web page for some reason, you have some reason to do that, you want to put it in the sample element. And what that element is just SAMP. Alright, whatever text you put inside here will have no meaning. When a screen reader comes to it, it's going to explain that this text that it's about to read has no meaning whatsoever. And I could put a bunch of garbage in there, and that would be what it's meant to be used for. And there it is. Alright. Next we have the strong element. So we've already seen the emphasized element. The strong element is kind of the same, but kind of different. It's for important text. Not something you really want to emphasize, but something, important that you don't want them to miss. So I might have a strong, and exactly how it sounds, just strong. And I might have some text that say, hey, look here, and I could put that in the strong. It's not something I'll say, hey, look here, like really emphasize, but I just want to say, hey, look here. I don't want you to miss this, and that goes in the strong element. And it is bold, and there you go. Alright, the strong and the emphasize, you kind of you can do some extra research on them. They are kind of very similar, but they do have two different meanings. It's not going to be the end of the world if you accidentally use the wrong one with the wrong meaning, but there they are. You can kind of be the judge of that. Alright, the last one is the variable element, and what this is for computer variables. We've seen one for computer code, and this one is almost the same, but it's for variables. Personally, I don't know why they have one for code and one for variables, because they're basically the same thing. You have code and variables. Well, I'll put a couple of variables here. Oh, sorry. The variable tag is just var, and I'm just going to put a variable a equals 10. There we go. That's a variable, and if I run this, there it is. Alright, so this has been a description of some of the lesser used text elements, both block and inline. And so I will try to list these in the description. Also, I might link a couple places you can find them. But alright, and this has been Lavic with Geek Disorder. If y'all enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe, and I will see y'all next time.